My friend Burnett Thompson just came back from a tour of China, and he has a new recording out, Autumn in Yunnan, and we'll play a piece from this entitled Jump to the Moon, and then we'll be talking with Burnett. Burnett Thompson from a brand new release entitled Autumn in Yunnan, Jump to the Moon. And Burnett just returned from China. He seems to be dragging a little bit, but he's here. Made it to the studio. Burnett, welcome to WPFW.
Thanks a lot, Rusty. Great to be here.
And that, you know, I've had you here. Actually, I've interviewed just about every pianist that you've presented at the Arts Club of Washington.
Right.
And yet this is the first time I think I've had you as a pianist.
Yeah. Well, I've been, decided to start practicing. I started with Hammond. 5-note exercises and then the think method. That's what I use now.
Okay. So you've been actually traveling to China quite frequently for some time now. What prompted you to do that first trip?
Ironically, it was a phone call from Garth Ross over at the Kennedy Center in 1999 to work with a musician that was in town, and he gave me a day to work on it, and he sent me over a stack of faxed music that was impossible to read.
Uh-huh.
And I had to argue with him about price a little bit, and then so that turned out to be a big star in the Chinese traditional music firmament, who wound up doing the music for Crouching Tiger. Brilliant musician, maybe the most compelling musician I've ever worked with, period, an erhu player. So that was Ma Xiaohui. And so she kind of coached me in the styles of traditional music, introduced me to people, and then I wound up going to China, and I, taught myself Chinese and got involved in universities all over. I don't know. It's a long story. We don't have time.
But absolutely, but it's fascinating. Yeah. Since I've been counting you as sort of a curator for different concerts at the Hill Center, and then the wonderful series that you did at the Arts Club of Washington.
Right.
And how did that start? And tell folks about some of the pianists that they missed over the last couple of years.
Well, the most recent pianist that they missed was Alan Broadbent, and before that, they missed Victor Gould, and they missed Orrin Evans.
That's right.
And
yes,
they missed a lot of them.
Absolutely.
It was never, we're going to wrap it up this year. That.
Yeah. And so who do we have coming up?
Andy Milne.
Okay.
Is coming down, Ron Stravinsky. Yeah. Now there's really an adventurous soul,
sure.
I have to say,
Absolutely.
And then Andy Milne after him.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's to look forward to, and I hope somebody can pick up the mantle of that series. The wonderful, wonderful piano they have there, and the
it is, yeah. It's a great setting.
And so one of the pianists you bought was Spike Wilner, and he's got something connected to what you're going to be doing next week. Tell us about
he's
that.
hosting. Let me back up just a little bit, Rusty. This CD is a project focused on tribal music of Southwest China.
Mm-hmm.
Southwest China has about 25 officially recognized ethnic minorities. They're migratory from Myanmar, Tibet, India, Laos, Vietnam, so forth. They all have their own languages, their own food, clothing, but for this conversation, the most important thing is they all have their own music. And on this disc, you could say it's divided between poignantly sad and reflective ballad-style tunes, that really bring a sense of painful loss, and then dance melodies. That one, of course, was in 5, very unusual. Ba 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 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 ba 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 ba. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Otherwise, they tend to be polka style, boom, 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 like that. So these melodies are known. Culture in China, traditional culture, is like anywhere else, needs resuscitation and needs preservation. So part of the charm of this particular tour was it was 6 cities. And I did this music with jazz trios, with an opera singer in Shanghai, and with a guqin player, and a jazz vocalist, and all these different settings. But the audience was very charmed by the music, Rusty. That I guess that I would come over and try to revive these melodies that they have somewhere in the back of their minds.
Absolutely, awesome.
Yeah.
Let's play the piece, and then we'll come back to Spike and talk about what's coming up.
We're going to talk about Spike. Oh yeah, Mesro. Right.
Absolutely. But let's talk about. We got a piece.
Do we have to talk about Spike?
We don't. Not at all. Not at all. Now these titles. These are the original titles, like Embroider the Purse.
Yes. These are, of course, translations, but yes. There's a story behind the idea of the purse is something that's handed around among women as a gift. The purse is a gift you would give to an aunt or to a grandmother. This particular tune is could easily have been composed in Hungary or something. You would see it in a Bartok piece.
Okay.
It's a very clear, simple pentatonic sound, which of course I made into diatonic harmonies. But
okay, we'll hear it.
Yeah,
and then
you'll
we'll talk
hear
some
it.
more about it. Okay, here it is. Embroider the Purse. abrupt ending there on that beautiful piece. Embroider the purse. I can certainly identify that. My wife makes her quilted purses. You're listening to Thursday Night Jazz. I'm Rusty Hassan, and we have Burnett Thompson with us tonight, just returned from China. His new release is called Autumn in Yunnan, and Burnett's here to talk about what he has coming up. So we got an engagement up in New York.
Yes, that's right. With the Autumn in Yunnan project, I took a little bit different approach. Started with the CD, and then I did 13 concerts in D.C. and North Carolina, public and house concerts, just to kind of get into the material, and also to create an audience, I guess, create a network. And then there were 7 concerts in China, and I just want to mention 3 of them were in jazz clubs in Xi'an, Beijing, and Xiamen. And I worked with trios and a jazz vocalist in those settings. And one was in kind of an avant-garde type space in Beijing, where I worked with just a bassist, and the audience was open to a much different approach. And then I have an old friend that I've worked with for probably 8 years. That when I started with her when she was a student, and now she's a soloist with Shanghai Opera. And so all along we've been doing these melodies over the years. So we did a performance at Fudan University that was very, very satisfying. And in Kunming, we did a concert with a guqin player. Now, guqin is my favorite of all the traditional instruments. It's the oldest. It's 7 strings horizontally. And you can actually read music written for the guqin that's 2,000 years old. You can read the original text. But it goes back thousands of years. And I had this guy, his name is Zheng Xiaogang. He and I just hit it off. It was just fantastic. We had very little rehearsal, and we did all these. There were 9 tunes that we did, and then some other more experimental things. And again, the audience just really ate it up. I should mention that the Chinese audience is very special. In that case, there were easily 30 kids, and when the kids come, and this is at night,
Wow.
I always bring them down front, put them right on the front row, and I talk to them, and I play to the kids. And the same thing happened in Shenzhen. I talked to the kids in the audience. I told you I speak Chinese,
Yes,
right?
you
Rusty?
did.
Yeah. How's your Chinese coming along?
Not at all. It's a struggle.
So, no, I talk to the kids
Yes.
and ask them
Yeah.
who's playing piano, and
Yeah.
tell them that my mother forced me to play the piano and hated it. I go through all that.
Okay.
They love that.
Great.
So, what was your question, Randy? I long ago forgot it.
At least get my name right.
You're Rusty?
Yes.
Yeah. So, no, I'll be at Mesro Monday night for
yeah.
D.C. residents. It's a spectacular piano room with a great instrument, but more importantly, a great audience. And I'm there with Monday night, and probably the most important thing about being there is I'm with Alex Blake.
Wow.
And
that's really awesome. Yeah.
I wanted. We presented him at Castleton last May. I wanted him to do solo.
Right.
But he insisted on bringing Yoichi with him. So the two of them, it was a smash, of course.
Yeah.
Yoichi Uzeki. So I mentioned this to Alex, and I said tribal music of Southwest China, and I got his attention, Rusty, and so he agreed to do this.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah. Alex Blake, these connections are just incredible. Long-time bassist, with Randy Weston.
Sure.
Just absolutely, and I saw him up in Andy Music a couple of months ago. There was a tribute to Randy.
With Talib and so forth.
Yes, absolutely. It's just marvelous.
Well, it stuns me to think that he was 16 when he was called by Sun Ra.
Right, right.
To come down. You remember that he told you in that,
Absolutely,
interview.
We had an interview before he did the Castle.
He went down just to see them, and he didn't realize it was a recording session he was doing.
Boy, no, wonderful, incredible life that he's had, and it's really special that he wants to perform with you.
I'll say, I'm looking forward to the morning after.
Wow. So after this, what's next for you? What you got coming?
That's a very good question. I've spent 5 months on this, and I have a couple things in mind. One is, all the last 13 years in China, I've been teaching. I have my own jazz piano method that I developed with my students over the last million years, and I've been teaching that method to classical pianists in China. And so I'm working with. I'd like to formalize that.
Mm-hmm.
It requires someone holding a gun to my head and things like that.
Boy, really special. And this recording, how can people put their hands on it?
It is at pianojazz.com.
Okay.
That's the easiest way.
Okay.
And for Mesro, that would be mesro.com, MEZROW.com.
Right. Now, I know I'm pretty sure it's at Smalls, but does he also at Mesro, does he video stream the performance?
He does indeed.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So folks can go to mesro.com on Monday at what time?
I can't remember.
Okay. It's okay.
No, it's at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. 8 o'clock.
8
okay.
to 10:30.
Fantastic. Boy. So, Burnett, what are we going to conclude our interview with? What's the piece we have? Drunken Miao
this
Village.
is Drunken. The Miao minority is translated into English called Hmong, Hmong.
Okay.
Half of them are in Vietnam, the other half are in southern China, all over.
Wow.
And they are famous for their music. And this particular piece is covers a kind of a broad gamut of emotions. I know you're
no, I'm not.
You got other things to do tonight. So anyway, in short, this is a Miao minority tune. And by the way, the first thing we did was the E minority, Y-I. You have Nashi, E, Miao, Dai, so forth.
Boy, and with all the changes that have occurred in China, how are these different folks recognized within the broader society?
Well, as we know, the Chinese government likes to have a hand in everything, and so these minorities are recognized as official minorities.
Okay.
And there's government support. So if you go to Lijiang, which is in the north of Yunnan province. By the way, Yunnan province is a phenomenon in itself. You have 18,000-foot mountains to the west, and then jungles in the south, and they're just hundreds of miles from each other. This is tropical area. So, Kunming, for instance, you're at 6,000 feet, and then Lijiang, you're at 9,000 feet. So the problem with Lijiang is that it's an amazing city from Tang Dynasty. So the roads there from 900, 1,000, and it's mobbed with Chinese tourists.
Wow.
So if you get out early in the morning, it's amazing.
That's awesome. So let's, again, a Drunken Miao Village.
Drunken Miao Village, like a cat.
Great.
Right?
And the album is Autumn in Yunnan, Burnett Thompson, the pianist. Let's hear this. Drunken Meow Village. Burnett Thompson from a brand new release, Autumn in Yunnan. And it's been a real delight having Burnett here tonight. He'll be at Mesro on Monday night with Alex Blake playing music from Autumn in Yunnan.